Welcome to How to Travel the World on Any Budget. First and foremost, let me thank you for purchasing this course and joining us on this awesome journey toward learning how to maximize and stretch your travel budget in order to accomplish your travel goals. Now, if you're just previewing the course to get an idea if you want to purchase it, let me also thank you in advance if you do decide to purchase the course and join us on these lessons. Much like yourself, I have a deep-seated passion for travel, and my wife and I have been very fortunate to have traveled to numerous countries which would not have been possible if not for the various lessons that we're going to cover in this course and the various techniques and methods to make sure that we're able to stretch our travel dollars to the furthest. So that being said, let's go ahead and jump into what we're going to cover in this particular course. So the first thing and the first section is going to be all about finding the best airfare. And this is really important because I find that airfare pretty much makes up about a third to a half of your trip costs, depending on how much you're willing to pay for the airfare. And we really want to limit that cost down to a little bit less. I try to get it as low as possible because the less you're spending on airfare, the more you have to spend on the actual destinations when it comes to activities and where you're staying and things to do. So the second section, we're going to start talking about planning your trip down to the last details. This includes things such as finding those awesome things to do, finding those rewarding experiences and those really memorable experiences, as well as where to stay and booking that type of stuff. Then the third section of the course, it's possibly one of my most favorite topics, and that is using reward credit cards in order to boost your traveling ability. Because smart use of reward credit cards has really made traveling possible for a lot of people, including myself. A lot of the trips that we have taken have used a mixture of cash and points in order to get to that destination while saving the most amount of money. Not to mention, if you're like most people, including myself, then you have a set amount of monthly bills that you can easily put onto reward credit cards that will then guarantee that you have a steady stream of reward points coming in order to use on travel. Now, when it comes to reward credit cards, I always recommend the Chase Ultimate Reward programs for starters, so we're going to spend a lot of time on that particular program. However, I do have one lesson that touches upon expanding beyond that program once you're comfortable with that particular program. And then last but not least, we're going to show you a few other ways to save money and a few different services that should help you when it comes to getting the most out of your travel dollars. So in total, we're going to cover about 25 different services. It's a little higher. I think it's about 26 or 27, but the main ones is about 25. And the beauty of this is that 23 of those are completely free to use. So you're not going to need to spend a penny more than this course to be able to use 23 of the tools that we go over. Now, of those 25, 2 of them do have premium/paid only subscriptions. The first one is actually an optional premium subscription. That service has a free tier that you can sign up for. And then the second service is only a paid service, so you do have to pay some money in order to use it. And all in all, we're looking at about 40 lessons spanning about 8 hours total. Now, if you're like me and you use Udemy quite a bit, obviously the first thing you do is look at the course title, click into it, read about it, see what you're going to learn, see the description, and then start previewing some of the free lessons of the course. And all of this is basically to just get a feel for what the course is about and make sure that this is something that you do want to spend the money on in order to purchase. So I've added these next few slides as a way of showing you evidence, for lack of a better word, that I'm not just some fake travel guru trying to slap together a course very quickly in order to get as much money from the Udemy platform. This course actually took a very long time to piece together simply because I've never put together a course for Udemy before. So I ended up choosing the platform simply because I am actually a student of Udemy. I love the platform and I use it quite a bit. Actually, if I hop out to my browser real quick, you'll notice that my bookmark bar is filled with quite a few bookmarks, and real quick you'll see my travel folder here that actually has all of the services that we are going to be covering in this course. But in addition to that, I have my learning folder, and Udemy is definitely one of my favorite platforms when it comes to learning. And as a student, I've signed up for numerous courses, so I know exactly what I look for when it comes to making that decision as to whether or not I want to purchase a course. Now, in my professional life, I'm more IT oriented, so a lot of my courses are IT in nature, but I do have quite a few different personal interests when it comes to courses as well. So going back to our slideshow, I did want to include just a few slides showing the various travels that my wife and I have been able to go on using the various techniques and the various services and tools that we're going to go over. So this is me right here on the right. My name is Abraham Musio, and I will be your instructor throughout this course. This is my beautiful wife. Her name is Norma, and she is obviously my travel companion. And you can see here, this was a picture taken in the south of France. We were in a town called Etsy. Very beautiful town, high in the mountains, and we were just traveling throughout France on that specific vacation. To the left here, we're actually on top of a mountain in one of the islands of the Galapagos, and that specifically is the island Isabella, I believe it's called. And in the next slide, we have a couple more photos from different travels. Here's us at the Cliffs of Moher in Ireland. On the left here is myself just staring out into Quito, Ecuador, which was a very beautiful city. On the bottom was our trip to St. Petersburg, Russia. And then here we have some Asian travel, so elephant sanctuaries in Thailand. Really good food in China. These are soup dumplings that we had in Shanghai, and this is one of the night markets. And then the ruins, the Angkor ruins in Cambodia. And this is one of my favorite pictures that we've ever taken, and that was on a river cruise of the Danube River in Budapest, Hungary. So that was really, really memorable, really beautiful experience. And last but not least, we have been to a couple different places in Europe, including Florence, which is this picture on the left, in Italy, Lisbon in Portugal, and then up here was a very picturesque city called Bruges, which is in Belgium. So I wanted to include those slides, not to brag or anything, but just to show that, you know, my wife and I are just your average, normal, middle class workers, and by no means are we very well off. We're just comfortably middle class, so we have been able to go to a lot of different places given our age. We're in our early 30s. And this has been possible simply because of the various techniques that I'm going to show you throughout this course. So what do you need? Well, first and foremost, you got to have a passion for travel. Obviously, you do, or else you wouldn't be here. And you also need a willingness to learn. It is 8 hours of content. There are 40 lessons. I do recommend you watch all of the lessons and start putting into practice and using the tools and services that we go over. You will need some form of income. I don't care what anybody tells you. You can't just travel the world for free. That being said, any level of career should be doable. Now, I do want to tailor expectations. Obviously, if you're making $10 an hour, you may not be able to afford as much travel as somebody that's making, let's say, $75,000 a year. And obviously, that person is not going to be able to afford as much travel as someone making $150,000 or more. So your specific situation in life is going to be different, but all of the services that we cover, they should still unlock value for you. And then last but not least, the optional items. One of them is going to be good credit, and this mostly applies to the rewards credit card section. Some of these reward cards, you do need to have at least a minimum of a 600 credit score, so I highly recommend you at least know your credit score. And then some of the more premium cards do require a 720 or above. Now, if your credit's not so great, feel free to postpone this course so that you can work on getting your credit up, because Good credit will lead to those travel reward cards, and responsible use of those travel reward cards will lead to travel rewards, which leads to travel. And then last but not least, as I mentioned earlier, two of the services that we do cover are paid services, one of them being optional and one of them not. So if you do decide to use those services and pay for them, you will need a minor financial commitment, but I promise that they are relatively cheap. The paid service is anywhere from $5 for using it once to, I believe, $100 a month if you want the most premium service, which I don't recommend. And then the other service is $50 a year if you want their paid versus their free tier. But we'll get to those later in the course at those specific lessons. So that's pretty much it. As I said, welcome to the course. Thank you for being here, and I very much look forward to going over everything with you, and hopefully you learn something here that you can put into use and accomplish those travel goals. At the end of the day, we're all passionate about travel. We all want to be able to travel. And so that's why this course is even here, why I created this entire course. Now, one quick note, I did record the majority of this course during the COVID pandemic, so you will hear me refer to the coronavirus pandemic from time to time during the course. Just know that it didn't really have too much of an effect on being able to demonstrate the tools and services that we go over. Unfortunately, it just means that I couldn't do my final lesson that I wanted to include, which was actually booking a trip in real time in front of you, simply because everything is closed to traveling. Knock on wood, with the vaccinations and with the precautions and the restrictions, hopefully all of this blows over and we're able to get back to traveling sooner rather than later. But that being said, I still recorded a putting it all together lesson that does do all of the research and the planning, just doesn't do the actual booking. And last but not least, I do plan on updating this course every time I find anything that I believe may bring value to any of the students of the course. Travel is an ever-changing industry, and there's always new things popping up here and there. So if I find something that I feel like, well, this is something that people should know about that can really help them save money and travel more, then I'm definitely going to be updating the course accordingly. So with that being said, welcome to the course, and I look forward to getting started with you.